Hi, and welcome back to the channel for the haunting horror. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment before viewing. Enjoy your viewing. The sterile hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to vibrate against my already throbbing skull. I winced, pressing my heels against the cool tile floor, willing the relentless ache behind my eyes to recede. Turbulence. Not the kind that buffeted planes, but the churning storm within. My mother. Cancer. The doctor's clipped words echoed in the cavernous terminal, a death knell that left me hollow. Next flight to Denver delayed by 2 hours. A disembodied voice crackled through the PA system. 2 hours. 2 agonizing stretches of time before I could cradle her hand, whisper reassurances that likely wouldn't come true. A wave of nausea washed over me. I fumbled through my purse, searching for the familiar square bottle. My anxiety meds. Empty. Panic tightened its grip. Flying, a necessary evil, was always an ordeal. Today, it felt insurmountable. "Excuse me," I croaked, catching the worried glance of a young woman beside me. "Do you happen to have aspirin?" She shook her head sympathetically. "Maybe there's a pharmacy." But the thought of navigating the crowded terminal, the fluorescent glare, was unbearable. I spotted the sign, "Restrooms, Refuge." Maybe there was a vending machine inside, something to tide me over. The metal door swung shut behind me, the dim, sterile light a welcome change. I fumbled for a stall, collapsing onto the cold plastic seat. Taking deep breaths, I tried to focus on the calming rhythm. My phone buzzed. "Mom," a simple, "thinking of you." Tears welled in my eyes. I needed to get my medication, to numb the gnawing fear. A metallic scrape from the next stall startled me. Then a whisper, faint but distinct. "Join us." I froze, heart pounding against my ribs. My anxiety played tricks, didn't it? Hallucinations fueled by a pounding migraine. I ignored it, focusing on my phone, typing a response to my mom. Another scrape, louder this time. "We see your pain." The whisper came again, closer this time. A shiver ran down my spine. I slammed the door of my stall shut, heart thundering a frantic rhythm. "There's no point hiding," a new voice said, cold and mocking. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We are you." My breath hitched. I glanced at the mirror, expecting my own reflection, but it was different, distorted, jagged edges where my features should be. A monstrous grin stretched across the distorted face. "Let us help you," the first voice hissed. A surge of terror coursed through me. I was alone, adrift in a nightmare. But the voice, the warped reflection in the mirror, held a chilling promise. A dark escape from the storm within. My scream died in my throat, lost in the confines of the metal stall. The distorted reflection in the grimy mirror taunted me, the warped grin mimicking a terrifying parody of comfort. "Easy prey," it hissed, its voice a chorus of whispers that seemed to originate from within the very porcelain. Panic seized me. This wasn't medication withdrawal, not a migraine hallucination. This was something else. "No," I choked out, voice hoarse. "Leave me alone." The reflection tilted its head, the distorted features shifting like fractured glass. "You need relief. We can offer that. Let go." My grip on the stall door tightened, knuckles white. Relief? From the fear or the flying? The whispers played on my vulnerabilities with agonizing precision. The prospect of facing the flight, the journey to a mother slipping away, felt unbearable. Just a little nudge, the distorted face rasped, the grin widening impossibly, and the fear fades. The offer was tempting, a twisted siren song, but something deep within me recoiled. This thing, offered escape, but at what cost? I have medication, I stammered, searching for my purse. It'll help. The reflection let out a sound that could have been a laugh, devoid of humor. Foolish human, your pills are merely temporary. We offer oblivion. The air in the stall seemed to grow thicker, heavier with the oppressive presence of the reflection. I backed away, bumping against the wall. The door creaked open a sliver. Don't resist, the whispers urged, slithering into my head. Join us. Become whole. My gaze darted towards the mirror, a horrifying image of myself distorted into a monstrous reflection, beckoning, promising an end to the gnawing terror. My hand hovered over the latch on the stall door. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed through the bathroom, shattering the eerie silence. A gruff security guard stood at the entrance, arms crossed. "Hey, lady. Everything all right in there?" The distorted reflection recoiled in the mirror, a flicker of fear replacing the twisted grin. It was faint now, barely a tremor in the reflective surface. Yes, everything's fine," I stammered, my voice shaky. The guard scrutinized me for a moment, his eyes narrowing. "Sure doesn't sound like it." Heart yelling. "You need help." With a burst of adrenaline, I slammed the door shut, locking it. "No, I'm just having a panic attack." The guard grunted, his voice softening slightly. "All right, but if you need anything, just yell." His footsteps receded. I slumped against the wall, gasping for breath. The distorted reflection was gone, replaced by my own pale image, eyes wide with fear. "That was close," I whispered, the words tasting like ashes in my dry mouth. For a moment, there was only silence. But then, a faint, insidious voice from within the mirror spoke. "We'll be waiting." My body trembled against the cold bathroom tile, the harsh fluorescent lighting adding to the sterile horror of the situation. The guard's booming voice had been a momentary reprieve, a reminder of the reality beyond the distorted realm of the mirror. But the lingering whisper, "We'll be waiting," hung heavy in the air, a chilling promise. Panic clawed at my throat. I fumbled through my purse, desperation mounting with each empty compartment. The medication, my usual crutch against crippling anxiety, was nowhere to be found. This wasn't just a missing bottle of pills. It felt like a severed lifeline. A metallic scrape from the next stall sent another jolt of terror through me. I shot a glance at the mirror, expecting the grotesque reflection to reappear. But it remained my own, pale and shaken, reflecting the turmoil within. Taking a deep, shaky breath, I tried to focus. I needed to get out of this stall, get help with the medication, and get on that damn plane. The thought of flying still ignited fear, but the alternative, the chilling offer from the mirror, was infinitely worse. Pushing myself off the wall, I opened the stall door cautiously, peering out. The bathroom seemed empty. Relief washed over me in waves, so powerful it almost made me dizzy. Then a voice, a young woman's, startled me. "Excuse me," she said hesitantly, standing by the sinks. "Do you happen to have aspirin?" I recognized her immediately. The girl from the terminal, the one with the sympathetic eyes. A sliver of hope pierced through the fog of fear. "Actually," I stammered, a touch desperate, "do you have anything for anxiety?" She raised an eyebrow, concern etched on her face. "Yeah, I do. But shouldn't you talk to a doctor about it?" I hesitated, shading my experience. The strange whispers, the distorted face, felt foolish, paranoia fueled by lack of medication. But something in her gaze, a quiet empathy, urged me to speak. "It's not exactly medication withdrawal. I began, my voice low. The woman's eyes widened slightly. To my surprise, she didn't laugh or dismiss me. Instead, she leaned closer, her voice dropping to a hushed whisper. "You've ever seen yourself differently?" Her words hesitant. My breath hitched. My gaze darted back at the mirror, half expecting the monstrous visage to reappear. But it remained my own, albeit still shaken. "Yes," I whispered back, a cold dread creeping down my spine. "In the stall." The woman nodded slowly, a flicker of understanding in her eyes. "It happened to me too. In a different bathroom, years ago. But it faded." Her words hung in the air, a spark of hope in the darkness. If it had faded for her, maybe. Just maybe. "What did you do?" I pleaded, hope mingling with the fear. The woman offered a small, sad smile. I faced it. "But you have your flight. You need to be strong." Strong. The word echoed in my head. Strong for my mom. Strong for myself. Maybe facing that reflection, whatever it was the only way to break free. With a deep breath, I squared my shoulders, the image of my mom flashing in my mind. "Thank you," I muttered, offering a shaky smile. I think I know what I need to do." The woman returned the smile, a hint of hope reflected in her own eyes. "Good luck," she whispered, then left the bathroom. Taking one last glance at my reflection, my own resolute face staring back, I marched out of the stall, ready to confront the darkness, both within and in the mirror. I stepped out of the stall, my hand hovering near the latch of the next one. My stomach churned, a cocktail of terror and a newfound resolve. The whispers, once insidious, now felt like a challenge. Taking a deep breath, I slammed the metal door shut. The harsh clang reverberated in the confined space. "All right, show yourselves," I muttered, my voice shaky but firm. For a moment, silence reigned. The fluorescent lights hummed monotonously. Had I imagined it all? Was the woman right, a figment of medication withdrawal playing tricks on my mind? Then, a faint tremor rippled across the mirror's surface. The air grew thick, a pressure building in the tiny chamber. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I held my ground, gaze fixed on the reflective surface. A distorted face began to materialize in the glass, its features a grotesque parody of my own. The grin stretched wider, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. "You changed your mind." It rasped, the voice a chorus of whispers. "We offer solace, escape from the pain." I gripped the metal bar holding the toilet paper dispenser, knuckles turning white. "Escape is a lie," I retorted, voice stronger than I expected. "You feed on fear. You won't win." The distorted face contorted, the grin morphing into a snarl. "We are you," it hissed. "The darkness within. Embrace it, and your fear will vanish." "My darkness may be real," I countered, voice steady, "but so is my strength. I won't let you control me." The reflection writhed, the image flickering in and out of focus. The whispers grew frantic, laced with a hint of desperation. "Join us," the chorus screeched. "Become one." With a newfound determination, I lunged forward, slamming my fist against the mirror. The glass vibrated, a spider web of cracks spreading from the point of impact. The distorted face contorted in a silent scream. You can't resist forever." It rasped, the voice fading as the cracks grew wider. "We'll be back." Then, with a deafening crack, the mirror shattered. A wave of cool air washed over me, carrying the faint scent of ozone. The whispers were gone, replaced by the comforting hum of the fluorescent lights. I stared at the web of cracks, reflecting my own trembling image. The reflection remained mine, Not twisted, not monstrous, but the memory of its dark counterpart lingered, a chilling reminder. Suddenly, a loud bang startled me. The stall door next to me creaked open, revealing the young woman from earlier. Her brow furrowed in concern. "Everything all right?" she asked. I took a shaky breath, a wave of relief washing over me. "Yes," I managed, a strained smile tugging at the corner of my lips. "Just faced a few demons." The woman's gaze flickered to the shattered mirror, then back to me. A knowing smile played on her lips. "We all do," she whispered, then left the bathroom. I stood there, surrounded by the silent shards of my reflection, a strange sense of victory battling the lingering fear. The flight still loomed, but now I felt a different kind of weight lifted. Stepping out of the restroom, a strange calm settled over me. The tremors of anxiety had been replaced by a quiet resolve. The shattered mirror, though unsettling, served as a stark reminder of my defiance. Navigating the bustling terminal felt easier now. My mission, getting medication, took on a renewed urgency. I spotted a pharmacy tucked away near Gate C, thankfully not mine. As I approached the counter, a middle-aged pharmacist with kind eyes greeted me. "Can I help you?" he inquired kindly. "Yes," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. I seem to have forgotten my medication on the flight here. "It's for anxiety." He nodded understandingly. "No problem, we can sort that out. Do you have a prescription?" "Yes," I confirmed, digging into my purse. Panic threatened to rise again when I couldn't find the small plastic bottle. Had it fallen out somewhere? "Lost it, I believe," I confessed, my cheeks flushing. The pharmacist's smile remained warm. "No worries. Does your doctor have your medication on file electronically? We can call and verify." Relief washed over me. Yes, they should. A few minutes later, I walked out with a new prescription in hand, a sense of gratitude welling up within. The encounter with the distorted reflection had been terrifying, but it had also forced me to face my anxieties in a way I never had before. Now, armed with medication and a newfound resilience, I finally reached my gate. The announcement for boarding blared through the speakers. My stomach lurched, but this time with a different kind of nervousness. Glancing around, I spotted the young woman from the bathroom again. She stood by the window, a small, sad smile gracing her lips. Our eyes met for a brief moment, a silent acknowledgement of a shared ordeal. Then, with a deep breath, I joined the queue for boarding. The air inside the plane felt stuffy, the roar of the engines a familiar symphony of anxiety. But amidst the familiar panic, there was a flicker of defiance. Turbulence ahead. A voice crackled through the intercom. My grip tightened on the armrest, but this time I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The medication would help, but I knew the real strength came from within. The plane taxied down the runway, and with a jolt, we lifted into the air. The buildings below shrank into a miniature cityscape. I glanced out the window at the vast expanse of clouds stretching towards the horizon. It was going to be a long flight, but for the first time, I felt a sliver of hope. Perhaps the darkness within wouldn't vanish completely, but I wouldn't let it control me anymore. I had faced the reflection in the mirror and emerged stronger. The journey ahead, both towards my mother and within myself, felt daunting, but now I was ready to face it, one turbulence at a time. The cramped airplane seat felt more like a prison cell than a mode of transportation. The rhythmic hum of the engines, once a source of anxiety, now blended with the constant chatter around me, a dull white noise. Glancing out the window, I saw only an endless expanse of white, mirroring the sterile calm I forced upon myself. The medication had awoken a drowsy fog in my head, pushing the fear back a few steps. But the encounter with the reflection lingered, a chilling reminder of the darkness that resided within. Just a little nudge, the distorted voice echoed in my mind, sending a shiver down my spine. I squeezed my eyes shut, focusing on the gentle rise and fall of my chest, the rhythmic mantra of a calming app playing in my earbuds. Then, a voice cut through the mental noise. "You all right?" The woman from the airport sat in the aisle seat across from me, her gaze concerned. Startled, I pulled out one earbud. "Oh, yes," I stammered, surprised to see her on the same flight. "Just a little nervous about heights." "First time?" "No," I admitted. But I hesitated, unsure if I should reveal the events in the bathroom. The woman seemed to sense my reluctance. "Bad memories?" she asked gently. Taking a deep breath, I found myself confessing the panic attack, the distorted reflection, everything. To my surprise, she didn't dismiss me. "I understand," she said quietly. "The first time I saw them was on a flight too. Panic attack city." A spark of empathy ignited within me. "So you see them too?" She nodded, a hint of sadness in her eyes. "Sometimes. They feed on fear. But you fought back." Her words resonated with me. Fighting back. The memory of shattering the mirror, the defiant act that chased away the whispers. "I did," I confirmed, a newfound strength in my voice. "You're stronger than you think," the woman said, offering a reassuring smile. "These things, they test us, but they can't break us." We talked for the rest of the flight, sharing stories, anxieties, and coping mechanisms. Her calm demeanor and shared experience offered a sense of camaraderie, a shared battle against the unseen. As the plane began its descent, a wave of apprehension washed over me. Even with the newfound understanding, the landing remained the most anxiety-inducing part. "Remember, breathe," the woman whispered, her hand lightly touching mine. "They can't control you if you don't let them." Taking a deep breath, I closed my eyes, focusing on the sensation of her touch, a grounding presence that anchored me to reality. The plane jolted as it hit the tarmac, the familiar wave of panic surging within. But this time, I felt something different. A counterpoint to the fear, a flicker of defiance. I wouldn't let the darkness win. Squeezing the woman's hand, I held my breath as the plane taxied to the gate. When it finally stopped, and the applause erupted, I felt a tear roll down my cheek. It wasn't just relief, it was a small victory. Stepping off the plane, I said goodbye to my newfound ally, the knowledge of a shared struggle forging a silent bond. The airport bustled with activity, but I no longer felt lost in the chaos. I was here, stronger, and ready to face whatever came next, one reflection at a time. Denver felt colder than I remembered, the crisp air biting at my exposed cheeks as I exited the airport. The familiar ache in my heart intensified, the image of my mother pale and frail flashing in my mind. A quick cab ride later, I stood outside the sterile white walls of the hospital. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself. Whatever darkness I'd encountered within the bathroom stall, facing the reality of my mother's illness might be tougher. "Here for Amelia Jones," a kind-faced nurse at the reception desk inquired, her voice gentle. "Yes," I croaked, voice thick with emotion. She smiled sadly. "Room 214. We'll let you know when you can go in." The waiting room was a sterile purgatory, filled with hollow murmurs and the hushed sniffles of others facing their own battles. Each tick of the clock felt like an eternity. Then, a doctor with weary eyes appeared. "Amelia Jones' family." I stood, my legs wobbly. "That's me." He led me down a sterile hallway, stopping before a door with a nameplate reading Amelia Jones. My heart pounded a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The doctor squeezed my shoulder reassuringly. "She's awake. Just take a deep breath and—" I pushed open the door, bracing myself for the worst. But what greeted me wasn't the gaunt, frail image I had envisioned. My mother lay in the bed, pale, but with a spark of defiance in her eyes. A weak smile creased her lips as she saw me. "There you are," she rasped, her voice weak but filled with love. I rushed to her side, tears blurring my vision. Holding her hand, I buried my face in the sheets. "I was worried," she whispered, her touch surprisingly strong. "Me too," I choked out, the bottled-up emotions threatening to spill over. The silence stretched, filled with unspoken words and the weight of the situation. Then, with a shaky voice, I decided to tell her. "Mom," I began, "on the flight, I had this experience." I'd recounted the events in the bathroom stall, the distorted reflection, the whispers. My voice trembled, but there was a need to be honest with her, to share the burden. As I finished, her expression remained thoughtful. "Sounds like anxiety got the better of you, honey," she said gently. Disappointment washed over me. I had hoped for more, for her to understand, to share the experience. But then her eyes twinkled with a hint of mischief. Though, she continued, her voice barely a whisper, "When I was younger, I swear I saw my reflection smile back at me once in a hotel bathroom inn. Well, never mind." My eyes widened. "You saw something too?" She squeezed my hand. Maybe not. But don't let shadows scare you, sweetheart. You're strong just like me." Her words held a new weight, a shared secret language, unspoken in the sterile room. Maybe shadows existed, but so did love, strength, and the power to face them head-on. "Stronger," I whispered back, a fierce determination rising within me. The rest of the visit was filled with stories, reminiscing, and a quiet understanding that bound us closer than ever. Leaving the hospital, the weight in my heart remained, but it felt different now, a mix of sorrow and a newfound resolve. The reflection in the bathroom mirror might have been a terrifying figment of fear, but it had inadvertently shown me my own strength. And with my mother in the hospital, I would need every ounce of it to face the days ahead. Days blurred into weeks. The sterile white of the hospital room became a grim backdrop to the gradual decline of my mother's health. Each visit was a painful struggle between hope and acceptance. One afternoon, I sat by her bedside, exhausted, the medication barely keeping the anxiety at bay. The rhythmic beep of the heart monitor filled the silence, a constant reminder of the battle being waged within her frail body. "You look tired," my mother rasped, her voice weak, but filled with concern. I forced a smile. "Just worried about you." She reached out, her hand cool and dry in mine. "Don't be," she whispered. "Live your life. Don't let fear hold you back." Her words hung heavy in the air. Living your life, facing your fears, it seemed like a cruel joke in the face of her condition. Yet despite the gnawing anxiety, I saw a glimmer of that same defiant spirit in her eyes. Suddenly, a flicker of movement at the corner of my vision caught my attention. It was faint, almost imperceptible, a ripple across the reflective surface of a stainless steel water pitcher on the bedside table. My breath hitched. "Mom," I whispered, fear tightening my throat. "Did you see that?" Her gaze followed mine to the pitcher. "See what, honey?" The reflection, a movement. She shook her head weakly. "Just the light playing tricks, sweetie. You need more rest." Was it the medication? Was my fear playing tricks on me again? Or was it an echo of that distorted reflection, waiting for a moment of weakness? Taking a deep breath, I focused on my mother's hand in mine, the warmth of grounding anchor. "Maybe you're right," I muttered, trying to quell the rising panic. But the incident planted a seed of doubt. Every now and then, I'd catch a glimpse of something, a flicker of movement in the reflection of a window, a ripple on a glass of water. One night, as I sat by her bedside, exhausted and overwhelmed by a fresh wave of grief, the whispers came back. Faint at first, barely audible above the hum of the monitor, they grew louder, more insidious. "Let go," they hissed, a seductive murmur. "The pain is unbearable. Join us, and it will all end." A fierce anger welled up within me. This wasn't about me anymore. This was about protecting my mother, about not letting whatever lurked in the shadows win. "No," I roared, my voice startling me in the quiet room. My mother stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Shay," she murmured, concern lacing her voice. "What's wrong?" Tears welled up in my eyes. "It's nothing, Mom. Just a bad dream." She squeezed my hand, her touch filled with a strength that belied her frail form. "We all have those, honey. But remember, nightmares can't hurt you if you don't let them." Her words held a new meaning now. A mother's wisdom passed down to face a threat beyond her comprehension. "I won't," I choked out, a newfound resolve echoing in my voice. The whispers lingered in the air for a moment, then faded away as mysteriously as they had come. Looking into my mother's eyes, I saw a glimmer of understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the unseen battle being fought. The fight for her life, and the fight against the shadows that threatened to consume me. Days blurred into nights, the hospital room becoming a battleground. The whispers had become a constant presence, a low hum of darkness against the rhythmic beep of the heart monitor. It was a war on two fronts, against the relentless progression of my mother's illness and the insidious creep of fear within me. One day, as I sat beside her, exhausted and at my wits' end, a doctor approached, his expression grim. He spoke in hushed tones, the words blurring into a white noise that hammered against my skull. All I could focus on was the tremor in my mother's hand, the fear reflected in her faded eyes. Later, after he left, the silence was deafening. My mother reached for my hand, her touch surprisingly strong. "It's okay, honey," she rasped, her voice weak, but filled with an unwavering spirit. "No, it's not," I choked back a sob. "It's not about what happens," she continued, her words labored but clear. "It's about how you face it. Remember, strength isn't always about fighting. Sometimes it's about holding on to hope." Hope. The word tasted foreign on my tongue, drowned out by the constant hiss of fear. But as I looked into her eyes, a flicker of something ignited within me. A spark of defiance, a refusal to let darkness consume everything. "I'll try," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. The corner of her lips twitched into a weak smile. "That's all anyone can do, my love. That's all anyone can do." We talked for hours that night, reminiscing, shading stories, and cherishing the stolen moments. The whispers lingered, a dark presence, but their hold on me seemed to lessen, replaced by the warmth of her love and the fierce determination it kindled within me. The following days were a blur of tears, whispered goodbyes, and the slow heartbreaking decline. The heart monitor's monotonous beat morphed into a constant drumbeat of impending loss. One afternoon, her breathing became shallow and labored. She lay still, her eyes closed. Panic clawed at my throat, threatening to drown me in a wave of fear. "Don't be scared," the whispers hissed, slithering into my head. "Join us. The pain will end. I squeezed her hand, the familiar touch an anchor against the churning darkness. Her eyelids fluttered open, a faint recognition lighting her eyes. "Don't listen," she rasped, her voice a faint whisper. "I won't," I choked out, tears blurring my vision. A ghost of a smile graced her lips. "Live your life," she whispered, her voice fading. "With love, with strength, and without fear." The rhythmic beep of the monitor flatlined. A crushing silence descended upon the room. My mother was gone. Grief hit me like a physical blow, a wave of anguish that threatened to consume me. But amidst the pain, a memory flickered, her words, laced with strength and a fierce love. The whispers grew louder, a chorus of darkness, feeding on my raw vulnerability. But this time, their hold was broken. I could still feel the ghost of her touch, the echo of her unwavering spirit. Taking a deep, shaky breath, I held my head high. I wouldn't let the darkness win. I would live with love, with strength, and without fear. A silent promise echoing in the sterile white room, a final tribute to the woman who had held my hand through the shadows and showed me my own light. Months blurred into a year. The sharp edges of grief had softened, replaced by a dull ache that lingered in the corners of my heart. My mother's words remained a guiding light, a compass through the darkness. One day, packing away her belongings, I came across a crumpled napkin tucked into a book. Unfolding it, I recognized her handwriting. "Meet me at our favorite cafe, 2 p.m., Friday." Below was a date, a year before she passed away. A bittersweet smile touched my lips. It was a date we often planned but never got around to. Now it seemed like a message from beyond, a final invitation. That Friday, I found myself at our favorite cafe, a small, cozy place filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and cinnamon rolls. My usual corner table was empty, but a vase filled with her favorite lilies stood next to it. A pang of emotion welled up within me. Then a voice, soft but familiar, broke the silence. "You finally made it." I turned, my breath catching in my throat. It was the woman from the airport, the one who understood about the reflections and the whispers. She sat at the table across from me, a gentle smile on her face. "How?" I stammered, mind racing. She chuckled softly. "Let's just say your mom had a way of connecting people. She asked me to meet you here today." A tear rolled down my cheek. It was a bizarre setup, yet somehow it felt right. "She left me a message," I said, showing her the napkin. The woman's eyes softened as she read the note. "Seems like she planned this all along." We talked for hours that day, sharing stories of my mom, the woman who had brought us together in a strange, unexpected way. We talked about our struggles, our fears, and the shadows that lurked in the corners of our minds. "They never truly disappear," the woman admitted, her voice tinged with sadness. "But we can learn to live with them. Your mom, she was brave." "She was," I whispered, nodding in agreement. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the cafe windows, the woman reached into her purse, pulling out a small, tarnished mirror. "You know," she said, her voice quiet, "I faced them once again, after your mom and I met. And guess what?" Curiosity piqued. I leaned forward. "They were gone," she continued, a smile playing on her lips. Just my own reflection staring back. My heart skipped a beat. Was it possible? Could facing the darkness, whatever form it took, be the key to banishing it? The woman held out the mirror to me. "Your turn," she said, her eyes filled with a quiet strength. I hesitated, staring at the reflective surface. Would I see my own monstrous reflection lurking within? Or something else? Taking a deep breath, I met my gaze in the mirror. There was darkness, yes, a faint echo of fear in my eyes. But there was also something else, a flicker of defiance and newfound strength inherited from my mother. "Thank you," I whispered, a silent promise echoing in the small cafe. Life would never be the same without my mother. But her spirit, her love, and the lessons she taught me would live on. I would face the shadows, hold on to hope, and live with love, with strength, and without fear. It wouldn't be easy, but with every step, I knew she would be there, a guiding light, a whisper of strength urging me forward. And maybe, just maybe, one day, the mirror would reflect not fear, but the woman I was becoming, brave, strong, and free. The years tumbled forward like leaves on a windy day. Life settled into a rhythm of work, routines, and the ever-present memory of my mother. The woman from the cafe, Sarah, became a constant companion in this journey. We'd meet regularly, sharing a cup of coffee and stories, a silent understanding weaving a bond between us. One afternoon, at our usual spot, Sarah seemed troubled. Her eyes, usually sparkling with a quiet fire, held a flicker of fear. "It's back," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. My heart pounded. Back? The distorted reflections, the whispers. In the mirror, she continued, her hand clutching a small picture frame. It started again. The picture depicted a smiling woman, younger than Sarah, with a familiar glint in her eyes. A pang of sympathy shot through me. I thought, after facing it, Sarah's voice trailed off, laced with confusion. "Maybe it's not a one-time thing," I offered, my own voice tinged with worry. "Maybe it needs to be faced again and again." Sarah considered this, a sliver of hope flickering across her face. Together, a silent understanding passed between us. We faced the darkness once, separately, but now we would do it together, a testament to the strength my mother had instilled in both of us. The following days were filled with research and apprehension. We delved into ancient texts, online forums filled with whispered experiences, anything that could offer a clue. One recurring theme emerged, facing the reflection with courage and self-acceptance. But what did that truly mean? Finally, on a stormy night, we stood before a large antique mirror in Sarah's apartment. The lightning flashes outside cast an eerie glow on the room, mirroring the turmoil within us. "Ready?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Sarah nodded, her grip tightening on my hand. Taking a deep breath, we stepped closer to the mirror. For a moment, there was just our own reflections, pale and drawn in the flickering light. Then a ripple spread across the surface. Two distorted faces materialized, grotesque parodies of ourselves, sneering and filled with malice. "Join us," they hissed in unison, their voices a chorus of negativity. "Embrace the darkness, and your worries will vanish." Sarah squeezed my hand, her face a mask of determination. We locked eyes, a silent vow passing between us. This wasn't about vanishing worries, it was about facing them head-on. "We see you," I declared, my voice surprisingly steady. "But we are not defined by your darkness. We choose light, strength, and love." Sarah echoed my words, her voice gaining power with each syllable. The distorted faces contorted in a silent scream, the whispers growing frantic. But our resolve held firm. Then, with a deafening crack, the reflection shattered. Shards of glass rained down, the grotesque images vanishing with them. In their place, just our own faces stared back, a flicker of triumph in our eyes. We collapsed on the floor, panting and shaken, but a feeling of liberation washed over us. The shadows hadn't vanished entirely, but they felt diminished, manageable. As the storm outside subsided and a sliver of sunlight peeked through the clouds, a quiet smile touched Sarah's lips. "We did it," she whispered, a newfound strength resonating in her voice. "Together," I added, returning her smile. "And we'll keep doing it, for ourselves and for Mom." The path ahead might still hold dark corners, but now we knew how to face them. We carried the light of courage, the strength forged in shared experiences, and the love that transcended even the deepest shadows. The years tumbled forward like leaves on a windy day. Life settled into a rhythm of work, routines, and the ever-present memory of my mother. The woman from the cafe, Sarah, became a constant companion in this journey. We'd meet regularly, sharing a cup of coffee and stories, a silent understanding weaving a bond between us. One afternoon, at our usual spot, Sarah seemed troubled. Her eyes, usually sparkling with a quiet fire, held a flicker of fear. "It's back," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. My heart pounded. Back? The distorted reflections, the whispers. In the mirror, she continued, her hand clutching a small picture frame. It started again. The picture depicted a smiling woman, younger than Sarah, with a familiar glint in her eyes. A pang of sympathy shot through me. I thought, after facing it. Sarah's voice trailed off, laced with confusion. "Maybe it's not a one-time thing," I offered, my own voice tinged with worry. "Maybe it needs to be faced again and again." Sarah considered this, a sliver of hope flickering across her face. Together, a silent understanding passed between us. We faced the darkness once, separately, but now we would do it together, a testament to the strength my mother had instilled in both of us. The following days were filled with research and apprehension. We delved into ancient texts, online forums filled with whispered experiences, anything that could offer a clue. One recurring theme emerged, facing the reflection with courage and self-acceptance. But what did that truly mean? Finally, on a stormy night, we stood before a large antique mirror in Sarah's apartment. The lightning flashes outside cast an eerie glow on the room, mirroring the turmoil within us. "Ready?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Sarah nodded, her grip tightening on my hand. Taking a deep breath, we stepped closer to the mirror. For a moment, there was just our own reflections, pale and drawn in the flickering light. Then, a ripple spread across the surface. Two distorted faces materialized, grotesque parodies of ourselves, sneering and filled with malice. "Join us," they hissed in unison, their voices a chorus of negativity. "Embrace the darkness, and your worries will vanish." Sarah squeezed my hand, her face a mask of determination. We locked eyes, a silent vow passing between us. This wasn't about vanishing worries. It was about facing them head-on. "We see you," I declared, my voice surprisingly steady. "But we are not defined by your darkness. We choose light, strength, and love." Sarah echoed my words, her voice gaining power with each syllable. The distorted faces contorted in a silent scream, the whispers growing frantic. With our resolve held firm. Then, with a deafening crack, the reflections shattered. Shards of glass rained down, the grotesque images vanishing with them. In their place, just our own faces stared back, a flicker of triumph in our eyes. We collapsed on the floor, panting and shaken, but a feeling of liberation washed over us. The shadows hadn't vanished entirely, but they felt diminished, manageable. As the storm outside subsided and a sliver of sunlight peeked through the clouds, a quiet smile touched Sarah's lips. "We did it," she whispered, a newfound strength resonating in her voice. Together, I added, returning her smile. And we'll keep doing it, for ourselves and for Mom. The path ahead might still hold dark corners, but now we knew how to face them. We carried the light of courage, the strength forged in shared experiences, and the love that transcended even the deepest shadows.